Welcome back, everybody. Kathy Arbor here, and I hope you're having a fantastic day. It's October 31st, and I am not going to do anything Halloween. I'm done Halloween. I'm going into winter. I've done enough fall, and I'm thinking winter because we got snow here yesterday and today. So, if you're following me at all, my channel, I did this on yesterday's painting a day challenge, and this is an acrylic on just a 5x5 canvas board. And I didn't do it yesterday. I did it the day before. That's right, fox, and I love fox. So I thought we would do another fox today, but in watercolor. Hi, Michelle. Yeah, I'm over Halloween. I don't mind it, but yeah, enough is enough. So I thought we could do a cute little fox, and this is the fox we'll be doing today. And I do have a traceable for all my members on YouTube and in Patreon. And you can find the links down below in the description, and it'll give you a link to the Patreon. Or if you can see the little join button down below here, right down there underneath the video, it says join beside my name there. Press on that, and then you'll get all the information for all of the different types. I have 3 levels. And the first level, well, all the levels, you are getting the traceable for this. And then you also have I'm not close to 100 other traceables that are available for you to download also, if you want to do that. And those are the ones that are accompanied by a video of some sort on YouTube or on the Patreon or the membership. Yeah, isn't he pretty? So just have to. Sorry about that. All right, so the traceable is already done for you, but I'm just going, instead of doing this, taking time to draw it, I don't want to spend too much time just drawing. So what I'm going to do is going to use this as a traceable. So if you don't have any graphite paper or that type of thing, you can use, let's see, yeah, you can use graphite pencil. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to, on the back of this, I'm going to concentrate more about the face and where the ears are. And then all the other stuff, basically, we'll wing it. So all you do, if you don't have any kind of transfer paper, you can just do this. You can also use pastel, a hard pastel, and it will go on. It's just as good. Just don't put too much pressure with your fingers on the other areas. So I'm going to put him probably about there, I guess. And you take a fairly sharp or point pen of some sort. You could also use a stylus if you have one. I'm just going to use this ballpoint pen and just going to map out where the ears are here. And that way, that's about all I need so I can get the right proportions. The fur is basically fuzzy anyways, so I'm not too worried about if it's not right on. But if you want to trace the traceable all the way, you can do that too. The eyes are right here. This is a very, it's not real detailed as far as the fur and stuff like that. It's a good one for anyone starting out. So I'll just put my, where this dark is around the eye. Like that, and the nose in. Where the nostrils are. This one, this side, you can't really see a lot. And then I'm just going to put this muzzle in also, just so that I don't go crazy with the proportion, because that part is important, because your features are the part in an animal or a person that makes the look of the animal. And if you're off by just the slightest amount, it also can be change the way things are. Okay, so that's all I need. So I'm just going to put this up in front of me here so I can see it. And it's going to be fairly loose, quick, that type of thing. And I'm going to start off with the fox this time. So I have some water here. And I have my brush. This is a number 8 silver black velvet. And usually I do light to dark when it comes to watercolor. And this one, where we have the fur, that's fairly detailed. You can see the sharpness of it. We'll do wet into dry. Any of this area in around the face here is fairly soft looking. So what we'll do is a wet into wet there, because I just want it to merge into each other so it looks fairly soft. But any of these definite lines, those are wet into dry. All right, so let's start off with the inside here. So I'm going to just wet my paper. My water is a little bit colored, so not too worried about that. But we'll just bring it slightly into the ear also. And I'm just going to go as far as there. And we want, I have raw sienna here, which is a really nice color for a lot of this fox. If you have an ochre, you could use that and put a little bit of burnt sienna in it if you want to warm it up a bit. So I just want a fairly loose color of this in the center here. And get a paper towel. This is a watercolor paper I'm using, so it gets a little bit less in by the ears there. It's a little less dominant, that color. I'm just going to take away a little bit there. Okay. And then a little more on my brush. And then right down in his muzzle here, around his eyes. So it goes down about there and then kind of curves a bit to his nose. And his top of his nose is a little bit light, but there is some of this color in there. And then goes right up into here, under his eye. And around his eye also is this color. So you can put that in. And more dominant along the sides of his muzzle. Now you can put this in, and then we'll take away. So right up into the top part here, lighter. You just take your brush and take some of this away. Just lighter. And as you go down into here, almost goes white. There's a little bit of color there. So just take some clean water. Like that. And then I'm going to take some of the burnt sienna. So it's a little darker. Right around the corners of his eyes, right in here. It's darker. So you can put that in like that. Let it fall past the eye slightly. And then a little bit on the top of the eye and the sides. It has that color. And then you can put a little sprig in there. Get rid of the notifications. I can see you guys. Hey, Dorothy, good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Okay, we want that. And then we can add a little bit of that raw sienna. And I'm just going to bring it right into the ear here. It's kind of a soft sienna color. So it is on the white side, but there is a little bit of color right along the edges. And then right into the this part of the ear here, a little bit darker. And then it goes into the ear slightly. It's right into here, like that. Or just putting in the base of this. So we don't want a lot of color. You can always go back in later and add more, but it's kind of hard to take away after it's dry. So I like to start with little bits. Okay, so he's got quite a fuzzy face, cheeks, I guess you could say. And it kind of goes past his right into here. There's quite a bit. He has a darker section in his the corner of his eyes too, so it'd be a little bit of that burnt sienna. I guess I will live not up to par. Well, try and take care of yourself. bit of that, and I'm going to just go under the eye just a bit. Now it's fairly dry, so it's going to be a little bit more of a line. And then right in here, along the edge basically of that muzzle area is a little bit darker. Put that in. Then a clean brush, and I'm just going to soften the line a little. You can take some off too if you want, but just soften that edge. I don't want a really hard edge there. Okay, are y'all keeping up? All right, so the darker parts, I am going to use the Payne's Gray. So whatever Payne's Gray you have, that'll be good. The inside of his ears are going to be this dark Payne's Gray. So I'm going to put that in first, and we'll start from the outer edge, a little bit on the lighter side, and then just with the tip of your brush, sweep it in like this. So you're basically doing a negative paint in the area there, because the white fur kind of overlaps it. So you're doing a negative painting of around those fur areas. Or you could, if you find you're not getting it the way you want, you can always use gouache. I might do that yet. Sometimes I find it's a little easier if you put the gouache in. And I use a little bit more of that raw sienna right in here. I think it needs it a little bit more, because there is a little bit of this kind of sweeps into that also. Like that. And then just a very, very light amount of water on my brush. It's clean water. I'm just going to soften this edge. Just a little bit. And you can bring it into that white areas. That. Okay. And then more of the Payne's Gray on my brush, and the tips of his ears are dark. I'll start off with this. Probably have to put a little bit more on later, because this isn't like dark yet. But it'll do the job for now. And then we'll just darken it as needed. So this is, you're seeing a little bit of the side of the ear there. Tip is a little bit thicker. That. Maybe a little bit in here, a little bit thicker right there on the base. Good. All right. The nose I'm going to do in this color too. So I'm just going to put around the nostrils, top of the nose. There is a highlight on the nose. It does have a little bit of color in it. It's not pure white. So I'm going to just take that out with my brush. So I just make sure the brush doesn't have a lot of water in it. And then you can just remove some. If you have a smaller brush, you could always do that too. Or they call it an eradicator brush. I don't like necessarily using those ones. I find they kind of damage the paper a bit. All right, now that's all I'm going to do on that part right now. But I am going to put a little bit of that Payne's Gray, but really watered down this time. And I'm going to do a little bit of shading in his muzzle. And it's just the slightest bit of this Payne's Gray around kind of the front bottom part. This little muzzle there, like that. And even the chin has the same color. So you can put that in there. And then we'll add more once that's dry. All right. Oh, I must have put my hand in it. Oh well. I'm always getting, yes, I've been putting my sleeve in my palette. All right. So for the underneath of his chin, it could be a little bit of Payne's Gray, but I also want to put in cobalt blue. So I'm just going to put that in a separate. If you have ultramarine, you could do that too. I'm going to add a little bit of the cobalt blue with some of that Payne's Gray, and just makes a little bit of an off color. And I'm going to use that, let's see, as the shadow in his fur under. Is that going to work? Let me think. Just thinking here. I don't know if that's the color I want. Maybe I want. It's turning out to be a little too aqua, which I don't want. So let's put French ultramarine instead and see what that does. Get a piece of paper. I'm going to put a little bit of cobalt with that. See what that does. That's better. All right. Water down again. And just under his chin, will be this blue shadow, basically. You can look at your reference or the photo. I'm just going to put the marks where I want it. It's not necessarily going to be this color. I may change it, darken it, but I do want some of it down here. And use the tip of your brush and look at the way your fur is. Because there will be a little bit of this kind of going really light to dark. So you kind of have to play with your color a little bit. And I do have marks in the fur that you can see for the shapes of the fur. If that makes sense. He's very fuzzy. Um, I'll put other colors in here. But he is quite a furry guy. Goes down like that. Oop, I got a dog hair. Oh my gosh. And down in here, quite dark. I'll put some of this. I'm working upwards to get a little bit of fur. I'm just using the very tips of my brush. All right, then we can take some more of that raw sienna and his little leg here. I'm just going to bring it down like this. And we'll get in there. And then right in, let's see, his body kind of comes down and then like this. And then I'm just going to wet this area because I don't want it defined with hard edges in this area. It's going to be more or less soft. Want a fair amount of pigment on my brush for this area just to fill it in. Maybe a little bit of this color in the bottom. Be darker. Going up the leg a little bit on that side. And I'm going to put a little bit of this in here too. Okay. Some more sienna, raw sienna. And now his fur right along here. Just along the edge. And you can put a little bit of that working its way into the blue part here. Let's put that into there. A little bit more in there. Like that. It's a lot of negative painting with this one. All right. Let's see. Let's dry that and then we'll continue on the second level. Got a smaller brush. This is the number 6. Just for a little more detail now, we're going to get into more line work. So let's see. I think I want, since we've dried this, I can wet areas now and not worry about moving any of the paint that was already down there. Now I want to put in just a little bit more soft color. So right in here would be a little bit grayish because this is the shaded side of them, basically. Just make a bunch of brush marks going upwards, and that will also help you with a little bit of the fur look. Right. Soften it up. Okay, and a little bit more on that blue side, right under the chin now. Could be a little bit darker. This color. Gotta stop putting my arm in that. We're fairly dark in here. A little bit more of the ultramarine right in there. And then just take your clean water and just soften those outer edges. Like that. Maybe even darker. I'm going to put a little bit of this real dark just underneath the darkest areas and let it do its thing while it's wet. That. Okay. And then you can also, a little bit of those darker, well, maybe I'll wait. I can do it on the bottom though. The darker areas in the bottom. You just have to pay attention to your fur direction. So most of this darks are in the bottom. Actually goes into the but I'm going to put some see the foliage or snow and stuff on top with some gouache. So I'm not worried if it doesn't look exactly the way I want it. A lot of that will be covered anyways. So you do want some of it looking proper. A little bit like that. In there, in here, back, a little darker in there. Maybe even some burnt sienna right in here, where his leg would be. Like that. Bring a little bit of that into the fur area here. And this, a little bit in there. This is very, very light. And there's a little mark right in here. That. And then a little more in here, I think, just at the base. Like that. And a little darker, more of the burnt sienna. Right in the corner of his ear here. Just a bit. Water that down a little. And put a little bit in here, kind of soften the edge. That. A little bit more color there. And then there's a little bit of little hairs kind of going up here. A few between his ears. That. Little marks in there. I'm going to soften these though. I don't want them real hard because it will stop it from looking soft. So soften some of it. Like that. And they're around his eyes are darker. So the color is more into the burnt sienna color. I'm not looking, just listening to. Oh, sorry, Dot. Oh, I forgot. I'll do his eyes. Okay. Makes them a little bit like that. And along the edge here, kind of flares out a little bit. Color. And around to the corner of his eye. See it. And this side, dark. Kind of goes down the side of his nose a little bit. This one doesn't show it as much, but like that. And then his little, kind of little cheek area, I guess you could say. Cheekbone, like that. And then his eyes are almost the same color. A little bit more on the raw sienna side, though. There is a little bit of that. Darker golden color. Almost the burnt sienna. So I'm going to put this in fairly big. Because I'm going to put the pupil in last because it's dark. And it's around the eyelid is dark. It's a little bit dark. There were shadows in his eyes too. So we can put a little bit of could mix, let's see, burnt sienna or burnt umber with some Payne's gray. So burnt umber with Payne's gray will give you a fairly dark black. It's not quite black, but it's pretty darn close. Let's do that. Let's do the nose first, I think. Just gonna do the inside of the nose. I need it darker, thicker. Okay, that's even. Kind of have to really pay attention to the shape. Kind of hard because it's so darn small. Okay, this is nose. We'll let that dry before we put on the rest. And then just with Payne's gray, I'm going to put his mouth in while the eyes are drying. There we go. Let that be. Probably going to darken this underneath again afterwards. It's not quite dark enough yet. Let's see. You'll go back and forth in darkening things. Let's do the pupil. Just using the very tip of my brush. one's a little bit longer. That. Okay. Maybe you can get a smaller brush yet. Let's see. I think that I've got a lot of control on. Okay, this is a Skoda number 1. So I got to get these lines around his eyes, really fine lines. You have to go even bigger with the oop. Yeah, with the right in here, I think I have to go bigger with the gold color. Okay. Uh-huh. A little bit thicker here. Oh, I got too thick there. I'm gonna have to take out the gouache, fix it. Yep, that happens. All right. See if you guys got anything to say. You're looking now. Okay, let's fix those eyeballs up a little bit, make them a little more even. I'm just going to fill, well, maybe I better wait. I'm not going to chance it. I'm going to wait. Let's fix the little nose up. So I'm going to add a little more Payne's gray. I want more Payne's gray color for the nose. In certain areas, it just kind of goes a little bit on the paler Payne's gray side as the highlight. There's a bit of a shine, but not a lot. Just take away. I'm going to have to wait a couple seconds for it to settle a bit. We can take our other number 6 and do a little bit more in the ears. They were darker in the center there. So negative painting again. And darker there. And then just soften the edge. I don't want a hard edge. A little bit softer in here. And again, you can do the same thing here. So darker along the edge. Oh, get my arm in there again. So think of your outlining your fur, lighter fur area, basically. And just soften that edge so you don't see that. That you could even go in there a little bit darker. In there. Darkest parts would be right in there. I'm going to put a little bit more. I want it fairly dark in there. That's where it would be the darkest, the inside of that ear area. And then soften again the edge so you don't see those hard lines. Let it bleed out a little bit. All right, hopefully that's dry. So I want to take that sienna and raw and burnt sienna, fill in this eye a bit. The white is. That. And let's see if we can fix this little bump. There we go. Yeah. Good. Now, it's a little bit off. One looks a little different, but we'll just add a little bit there. Now you do have shadow on this eye. So what we can do is just darken that with the burnt sienna. maybe I'll put my here. And a little bit of that indigo with it. There's a shadow right in the top area of the eye. You can put some of this in. And this side also has it. And kind of around the one edge there. I'm just going to soften it a little bit. Just the tip of my brush, a little bit of clean water, just to soften it. Yeah. And then he has a little bit of a glow on the bottom. So you can take away some of this color. Like that. And then with a little bit of maybe Indian yellow, we'll add a little bit of bright color there, just to give it a little bit of a glow. All right, so now I'm gonna, this nose is dry, so I'm gonna finish this nose up a little. So it's a little bit darker on one side than the other. The top, just around the nostrils, is a little darker. You can barely see the nostrils. There is a little bit of a highlight around them. You could use a pen. To fix that if you want. Add that little highlight. It's not totally necessary. Depends how detailed you want. All right, so let's do a little bit more of this under his chin. I think it needs to be darker. So I'm gonna add that. Right in here. A bit of shadow and softening on the edge. It's not, soften that too. I like soft areas in the fur of the body area. I don't like them too hard. So you can soften if you find any of them that are a little bit too hard looking. Just add a little bit more. Just going to put a very thin line under here. And we'll see if it spreads enough. Not bad there. Let's do wet brush. You just touch the very edge, and usually it'll spread out a little bit for you. And then a bit of that dark again. Add a few marks in here. Coming out of that dark area. looks pretty good. I can get focused too much too on things. Sometimes when you feel like you're not totally satisfied, best to just sit back, go have a coffee, and then come back and see what you feel about it. Sometimes you over analyze things. At least I do. And then I find that it was probably just as good if I had left it. Instead of seeing the whole picture, you're concentrating on a certain area too much. And therefore, you kind of you get blind to a certain area, if you know what I mean. I'm gonna make some of these. That. Getting all kinds of notifications. The only time I get them is when I'm actually streaming. All right. Now he needs a little highlight, and I have some gouache here, white gouache. Where's this ink white? Yeah, gouache. I'm just going to add a little highlight in his eye. But I don't want it white. I want a little bit of blue in it. And it's like great. I want a larger area that you just put this color in. And then later you put the bright white on top of it, just in a dot, basically. And let's put a little bit of this on his nose, maybe. No, maybe you need a little bit whiter. Like that. And I'm going to put it on his nostrils too, just on the very bottom, like that. And we'll put a whiter white once that dries. And now let's put a little bit more color on the tips of his ears here. That would be darker in here. A lot of times with watercolor, you do have to go back in. At least I do. And I'm no expert, but I tend to be more cautious, I guess you could say, when doing darks. I'd rather go in a few times than put on a real heavy dark and then find out it's too dark. That. 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 All right, and then I'm actually going to go in a little bit more with the right in here, this dark. I want that fairly dark in there because I'm going to be putting different colors, white over top of it. All right, now we got to do background. I'll put the whiskers in later. So the background is very, very blotched. looking. There is some look like twigs and stuff like that in the background. This here in front is going to be gouache, and I'm going to use a stencil for that. But back here, we're going to put a little bit of, probably a little of the color of his fur, and then the blue on top, and wet into wet, probably. So I'm going to use a bigger brush. And I'm going to wet the area first. And wherever you put the water is basically where your color is going to go. Now I'm going to only do sections at a time, just so that it doesn't totally dry out on me. And I want a little bit of that color of him, more or less in the background here. And I'm going to let it dry. Remember, this stuff, all this dries fairly light. It's never the color that you put on in the beginning. Once it dries, it's always lighter. So try and keep that in mind when you're painting. It can be a little nerve-wracking, thinking that you're putting on too much color. But once it dries, you'll see it really wasn't. A little bit on the bottom here. A little more of this here and there. Like that. Hey, Joan. Oh, thanks. Hope you're doing well. Let's see. Now we want that blue. So we had the ultramarine, or yeah, let's do ultramarine, but very, very watered down ultramarine. A little bit of the reverse painting in this area. This will be fairly light though. It'll dry light. So just reverse painting, thinking of the fur that would be sticking up in here. Trying putting that in, keeping in mind that some of those fur pieces would be added in there. Don't have to worry this side too much because it's the back of them, so it's kind of on a bit of an angle, so there's not as much on the bottom part there to worry about. Light. A little bit of reverse. Uh, Looks pretty good. And I'm just going to put a very light bit of color up here, not much. Just up there a bit. Maybe a little softer there. I don't want really hard edges. You could actually put salt on this too if you wanted to. Now I want a little bit of more concentrated color on my brush. And I'm just going to put some lines, or you could put dots. And it's going to flare out. That's fine. I'm just kind of like a blurry background is what I'm looking for now. More dark on the bottom here. Maybe even a little bit of this color. Dark in here. I will be going back in with some of the gouache also. So if you goof up somewhere, gouache will save the day. That. A bit darker. That. Maybe a few in here. Just play with more or less shapes. I'm not really defining things, saying that this is a flower, this is whatever. Just putting in shapes, and if they blur out, they blur out. That's kind of the thing I want. You know there's something back there, but you're not sure what. You just want a few different hues of that blue. That. Just gonna soften that a bit. One more. Fairly dark in here. I want. Okay. Looks pretty good. Okay. So now what we're going to do is let's dry this, and then we'll put some other stuff on. Hey, horsewoman. Went back to beginning to see what watercolors you're using. Love the full length. Awesome. I'm so happy to hear that. So I want this really dry because I'm going to be stenciling a little bit on the top here. You could also, if you have stamps, like those, what are they called? Foam stamps of some kind of foliage, you could use that. You can use gouache, or you could use acrylic, whatever you have. So use whatever you got, gouache, acrylic, stamps. I do have some foliage stamps here. Let's see. These are, I haven't used these ones yet. I just got them. Which are hard to open. Oh, there we go. So any leaves, and this one's fern, you can use. And you don't have to use the whole thing either. You could use parts. So you could like use, you know, just the side there. So I'm going to use a sponge. So I like using makeup sponges. Like this. And I just cut the ends off once they harden up. And then just get a little container that you could put your, this is just acrylic, so I'm just going to use the container itself. And I have some gouache here. And a little palette. Take some out. Don't need a lot. And the nice thing about this is to get this two-toned effect, your gouache will have that color that's in the paper seep into that gouache white. So you'll get two tones with that, which is nice. So that's what I like about it. If you want something that's a real bright white, then you might have to use like a bleed-proof white. Let's see. I think I'm going to put one right here. Make sure I get the whole thing in. I'm just tapping off the side here. I don't want it to bleed through the sides. Let's see. There, perfect. Let's put another one in. Do that. Let's see. Maybe a little bit of a bigger one. Right in here, maybe. I'm gonna have to get a little bit more on my brush or on my sponge. That. And then maybe just a few overlapping bits, ends. It doesn't have to be the whole thing. A lot of times it's better just using bits. And you can overlap too if you want to make it more condensed looking. You could use acrylic too, and an acrylic will seep if you let it. That. Let's do a little more, maybe. I want it not necessarily recognizable. You will get layers looking like that. Maybe one in there. I think that looks pretty good. I'm just going to throw that in my water so it doesn't dry out on me. Okay, now I'm going to also add a few other ones, more line than anything else. I'm just going to put this on my palette here. And now you could probably use a paint pen too if you wanted to. I might have to. So I don't know if I get enough of a opaqueness. Yeah, not. Okay. So we will get out the Posca paint pen. And let's draw some lines for oh, I don't think this pen's working right. Nope. To get another one. Or use gouache, the thicker gouache. Here. I might have to get out some other paint. Oh, that's kind of, yeah, let's see what we can get. Nope, that's not doing it either. Okay, time to get out acrylic paint. Get this in right. So let's, oh darn, I think, oh, well, I can use gesso, I guess. Squidge of gesso. And a smaller liner brush. No, that's got too much. Let's use one of these. These Chinese grip brushes are great because they have a really thin line to them. This isn't even doing it the way I want. I'll have to make do. I have to find my other Poscas. I know they work great. We'll go back in probably and do some of those. But just play. Make up a bunch of twigs and whatnot. I'm going to put also, leaves, that type of thing. This is just gesso I'm using. So maybe, I don't know, make some leaf shapes. I guess this gesso isn't that opaque, but it'll do for now. If you have a nice opaque acrylic, then use that. And I want some, I'm going to do a little bit more brown. Make some, I don't know, maybe oak leaves. I want to do some splatters too. Oh, here, I got some white. Let's try this. Found and determined. Get this white on. Some titanium white. Maybe this will do. Yeah, that's better. And just little marks, whatever they are. Could be some type of weed. Who knows? Maybe a few in here. Put some down in here. That. Okay. And with that, let's see what we got here. And take this again. This time I think I'm going to put some I'm going to use my paint this time. Get another sponge. Oh, I forgot I had these. Oh, they dried up. these could make it a great imprint also. But I think these are too dry to do that. Let's just try it anyways. So you just, I'm going to put it on a different piece of paper. Let's see. Well, let's put it on top of the book here. Yeah, it works. Not as good as you need softer ones. I have a video of how I did that. It does turn out really cool, I must admit. I'm gonna just put this down. More of a opaque. Yeah, that's better. And right here. Now it might seep some of that color into it yet, so it doesn't always stick white. I like the brightness of it. That's cool. Okay. I do have some blotches here I could put in, but I think what I want to do is put some. Let's see, I need a bigger brush, and I'm going to use that white acrylic, and I want some, I don't know, snowflakes. Oop, they're big, they're big. All right, so just a few. I might mop up that one. A little bit too big. Just mop it up. That. And there he is. I think that's it. So let's take off the tape and see what we got. Oh, I got to put the eyes in too. Thanks, Joan. Thanks, Dorothy. it's a quick one. A fun one. It's not a lot of detail. Just want to get all these dots. The dots are still wet, but yeah, there's not a lot of detail. And oh, I have to put the whiskers in. Oh, I almost forgot. So you want a fairly small black. See, that's not working very good. There. So we have like that. And he has a few little eyebrow whiskers. That. I think that's it. Well, looks pretty good. There's our little fox for today. So if you want to give it a try, there is a traceable, and you can also find the picture of this if you want a reference photo on the Patreon or on the YouTube membership. And links are down below if you want to download this. So let's sign it. And I think he turned out pretty good. I like him. I hope you give it a try and see what you can do. And make sure to check out my shorts if you want to see all my painting a day of acrylic paintings. I have them in my shorts on YouTube or on Instagram. Kathy Arbor on Instagram. And I haven't done my one for today yet, but I usually do them in the evening or in the morning. So hope you have a fantastic day, and we'll see you on Thursday where we will be doing a live acrylic painting on the painting a day. I'm not sure what the subject matter will be, but tune in and we'll see you then. All right. Thanks for coming, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.